Hello everyone, welcome back to the life of an Indian girl in an Australian city. What I'm going to be talking about today is something that's so controversial, especially in our Desi households. Like, people do not like talking about this, and I think it should be known out there, especially if you're planning to come over to Australia, or even if you're already here. Making a decision for yourself is never too late. So what I'm going to be talking about today is, a lot of us, especially the immigrants and the people who migrated to different developed countries. I'm not just talking about Australia here, I'm talking about Canada, US, UK, anywhere which is a developed country where the society is not the same as from where we come from. For example, India, it's a developing nation. Any student, any child, any grown-up, whoever is coming from India, they do have this baggage with them. Don't get me wrong, there is a baggage that we all come from, that I came from, all my friends came from. The baggage that we carry with us is that comfort that we come from. In India, you don't have to cook. You have people to cook for you, or your mom cooking for you. You don't even have to wash your clothes. You don't have to do the dishes. You don't have to mop. You don't have to sweep. You don't have to do anything. Basically, you're not doing any of the chores that are yours. Which, when you come to these countries, you have to you are only dependent on yourself. And this is the baggage that people from these developing countries bring with them. Not just me, not just you, it's everyone. And especially if you were 18 years old, you have been living your life a certain way for 18 years, you have people doing stuff for you, you never really have to worry about your actual chores, and you move to a different country. What happens then? Don't get me wrong, if you're coming up and you start living with your relatives, for example, your chachas, mama, uncle, anybody, okay, you come to this country, a new country for you, you are still in a state of shock, you're still accepting where you are, and you come to this new country and you start living with your relatives. They could be anyone, your cousins, anyone. Now, most of the cases, before recording this podcast, I did speak to a lot of my friends who live with their relatives, and I got the same answer every single time. A lot of the relatives who they are living with, they are already living in that country, for example, Australia, for at least like 5 to 10 years. 5 to 10 years is such a long period of time. Even if after 5 to 10 years you look at yourself, you would have a specific routine. Your house is going to be operated the way you like it. So exactly the same happens with your relatives. They're living in their house works the way they want it to work, which is just so fair, don't get me wrong. It's their house, it should be working the way they want to. And they like to do the dishes maybe right after they do the dinner, or maybe next morning. Everyone has their own routine. They might be liking to clean their rooms once a week, and you might be liking to clean your room once a month. They might like to do cooking like every single day, and you probably only like to do cooking like 3 or 4 times a week. There's nothing wrong in either of the situations. What is actually wrong is that you are coming into someone else's home. You are going to be living with them. Now, just imagine the scenario. When you're in India, you go to your relative's home. Oh, it's like a hotel, don't get me wrong, but it is like a hotel. I go to my mausi's place, it's like a hotel. Everything, you get the food, you don't even have to pick up your own dishes, there are people doing that. You just relax, and you can stay there for as long as you like. What's different here? This is a household where everyone in the house is working their own stuff. This isn't India. That's the binding stuff. So when you come to Australia from India straight away, your mindset, it's still at that level that you are at a relative's home. Not that you are in a relative's home in Australia. That means you have to adapt yourself so quickly to everything that the house operates in a way. Supposing they like to do dishes twice a day, you'll be doing dishes twice a day. You can't come up with your own routine there, right? And it was really hard for me to accept in the beginning how everything is working around me. I had to adapt to other people's ways when I'm still adapting myself. And that's why I always say, this is from my experience. Some people might have beautiful experiences, but still, if you're coming from India and if you can afford it, go and live in a student accommodation, university accommodation, or live with the people of your own age. Live with a bit of independence so you're allowed to have your own routine. Trust me, you're not a child anymore. You need to learn things yourself. And when you learn things yourself, you don't really like envy anybody else or hold them accountable for troubling you. Supposing, for example, you start living with your relatives, you are not used to doing your own laundry, for example, and you leave your dirty clothes in the laundry basket for them to do. Is that going to be okay? Red flag, red flag, red flag. They're not going to be happy with you. And it's not even their responsibility to teach you everything. They're not wrong there, you're not wrong here. You're not used to it, they're not used to it. That's why it's always important to find a middle ground. That's the middle ground I was talking about. That's why I feel it's really, really, really important to go and start living by yourself. If you start living by yourself, you get yourself into a routine and maybe then come back to your relatives after 3 months. It'll be fine because you're going to be you would have adapted your entire routine in a way that you are now able to do your dishes, you're able to do your laundry, you're able to clean the room every single way. It's your routine. And I am coming from a place of my own experience. Your relatives, they really want good for you. You want good for yourself. It's just that you are coming from a completely different routine. And as an 18-year-old, I have been there, done that, and it's hard. It feels like it's really hard for you to just come and be able to do it all. And another important tip I would want to give everyone out there: pay your rent, even if it's a minimal amount. Pay something, just because it's a matter of respect. And that's the culture here. No matter who's staying in your home, they're going to pay you a minimal amount. If it's your relatives, maybe they won't take it, then you are blessed. But if they are okay with it, pay a minimal amount. Pay $100 when you get a job. I'm not saying just pay from day one. Maybe if they're okay with it, you can start paying it once you have a job. And just pay something. It's for your self-respect. And this is something that I learned from my experience. That's why I feel to actually find your inner peace and to be happy, you need to be able to be working by your own. Working by your own, managing your things by your own. It's really hard as adults to adjust in someone else's routine. And it's not fair for you, it's not fair for them. And if you can, go, live by your own for some time, learn that stuff and come back. I'm not saying never go back, but when you have actually realized the reality of how things work in Australia. It's so much easier when you listen to it, it's so much easier when you can talk about it, but going and experiencing it is a completely different situation. Do that for yourself when you do that. Plus, I even wanted to add how grateful you are if you have a relative living here. It's really grateful. Honestly, just having any part of family here is a blessing in disguise. Go meet them. Even if you're living away, go meet them every weekend. Make plans with them. That's a healthy relationship. Not barging into somebody's home and disrupting their routine. That isn't. And we don't do it intentionally either. It's just the way we are. It's just the way we're brought up. I was brought up the same way as you. We never had to do our chores, but it's time to learn. This is my suggestion for the week too. I feel like it is really important to find your own independence, to find your own routine. And you guys are all adults now, so it's really good to go in and figure out, what do you like to do? Do you like to do the dishes in the morning or right after dinner? Do you like to clean the house once a week or once a month? Do you like to vacuum twice a week or twice a month? That's for you to decide. But to figure that freedom out for yourself, that's very important. And plus, I feel like the exposure that you get when you're living in these different student accommodations, the adventures you do, the different things you learn, they're really, really good. They have such a good program and a really good structure for the students to actually learn how to do everything by themselves. And they've been designed in a way just to help us. If you can afford it, don't get me wrong, they're expensive, but if you can't afford it, go and live there, only for 3 months. That's expensive for 3 months, but once you come out of it, the kind of confidence you'll have, the kind of community you would have built for yourself, and the kind of like a freedom that you're experiencing, it's really remarkable and it's important for your own development. We all learned it some way or the other. It was too late for me, but my brother did that. I love that thing for him. It worked out amazingly for him. He had everything figured out in 3 months, and then he moved out. He started living with his friends. So it's not a forever thingy, but do it for some time. That's my suggestion for you this week. Good luck, have an amazing week. Thank you for listening and stay tuned for more.